Hi, I'm Holly Andrews, health and wellness coach, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share with you some of my favorite natural ways to lower cortisol levels in our bodies. Cortisol, of course, is one of the main stress hormones that goes way up when we're feeling stressed, and it is supposed to come back down once that stress-causing trigger is over. But many of us live in lifestyles that don't actually allow that cortisol to come back down. So these are some of my favorite ways to lower that cortisol level naturally, let our bodies get out of that stress response and into a relaxation response so that we can breathe again and we can have some calm and handle the stress that comes at us in life much better than if we are constantly living in a permanent state of stress. So the first technique I want to share with you is diaphragmatic breathing. Breathing is so essential, and I kind of poo-pooed all of this breathing and breathwork stuff for a very long time, but I have learned just how important taking the time to stop and breathe deeply really is for that relaxation response to kick in. And this is something that you can do anywhere. It's great if you're at work and you're trying to get through some stressful emails, or even in a stressful meeting, you can do this diaphragmatic breathing and no one will really know. I use this a lot at red lights when I'm driving, just because it may not be a stressful driving situation, but just pausing at that red light, taking some diaphragmatic breaths helps bring that relaxation response into play, and it's just a really great tool. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna sit up straight, you're gonna engage that diaphragm, and you're gonna breathe with your diaphragm instead of from up here. So you're gonna breathe from your gut and not up here in your lungs. So this is as simple as this. Now, you probably couldn't hear that. It wasn't some big inhale, hold it, exhale thing, although those are excellent tools. The 4-7-8 breathing technique, any of those or box breathing, those are really great techniques, but you might not want to do that in the middle of a meeting. But the diaphragmatic breathing, where you engage your diaphragm, is a really great tool that most people aren't even going to realize you're doing it, but it's going to help keep you calm. The next technique I love is taking breaks throughout the day. These are called ultradian rhythm breaks. And if you think about your circadian rhythm, this is kind of like complementary ultradian rhythms. Your ultradian rhythms throughout the day, they run on about a 90-minute, maybe 2-hour cycle. And you probably have noticed this throughout your day that you're working or you're focusing on something, you get to that 90-minute mark and you're just not as focused. You're just not as able to dial in because your body is probably signaling to you it needs a break. You need to get up and walk. You need to go to the bathroom. You need to drink some water. You need to have a snack, whatever that looks like. And a lot of us, especially if you are a driven person like me, you push through those and you ignore your body's signals for those breaks. And what really happens is your productivity tanks. But if you get up and you take those breaks, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, go to the bathroom, take a little walk, get some water, have a snack, whatever that needs to look like for you, but get away from your desk or get away from whatever the task is that you're doing, make a humongous difference in our productivity levels, our stress levels, and just our ability to respond to everyday stressors that come at us. So take those breaks throughout your day. Don't try to push through. Don't think that you have just got to power through, because if you power through, you're really not going to get the results that you want, and your stress levels are going to increase along with your cortisol levels. The next thing that we can do to help lower our cortisol levels is eat an anti-inflammatory diet. So many of us don't realize what is actually in our food, and I am finding things still to this day, even though I have been on a hunt to remove things like omega-6 oils, that's your seed and grain oils, from our diets in large part. And I'm still finding things that I wouldn't even have occurred to me that they would be in, that they're in. And those omega-6 oils, when they're out of balance with omega-3, so you think about your fatty fish, your avocados, your olive oil, when they're out of balance, that drives inflammation, drives cortisol, drives stress. And what's happened is that So many of the things that we can get at the grocery store have those grain and seed oils in them, so that our consumption of the omega-6 oils is really, really high and the omega-3 oils is really, really low. So what we need to do is start working to bring those things back into balance. Reduce the amount of omega-6s we consume and increase the amount of omega-3s. That's one really, really easy way to bring some balance and bring in more anti-inflammatory, cortisol lowering things into our diet. So watch for those things like safflower, soybean, palm, any of those kind of oils that are in the things that you're eating. Even if they say organic, they're still omega-6 oils and they're still going to drive that inflammation, that cortisol response in our bodies. Look for things and or use when you're cooking. Olive oil, avocado oils, coconut oils. Those are great sources of oils that are anti-inflammatory omega-3s. Get some fatty fish like salmon into your diet. There's a whole host of other things that are anti-inflammatory. So I encourage you to just kind of look at what you're actually eating and start to slowly reduce the amount of omega-6 oils you're consuming and increase the amount of omega-3s. I already touched on this one a little bit, and that's physical activity. Exercise is a natural antidepressant. It's a natural anti-anxiety. It's naturally cortisol stress lowering. So if you can, get out in the mornings, maybe for a 10-minute walk. Take a walk on your lunch break. It doesn't have to be anything crazy like, some going to the gym for 45 minutes, although I love doing that myself and it's great for me. But there were long periods of time, years in my life, where that would not have worked for me. So any kind of walk that you can do, get up, take those 10-minute walks during your breaks, take a walk during your lunch, walk after dinner, anything that you can do, yoga. If you love to run, go run. If you like to do HIIT, go find a HIIT kind of gym or CrossFit, whatever it is that works for you. Get that physical activity in, because those trigger all of those hormones like serotonin and dopamine and all of the happy mood balancing hormones, as well as help bring down our cortisol levels. So get your physical activity in ways that work for you. One of my very, very favorite ways to lower cortisol is to take Epsom salt baths. I know there's a lot of hype around Epsom salt right now and what's better and, buy this kind of Dead Sea flaky salt. I don't know. But what I know is that Epsom salt works because it has the magnesium sulfate in it. So not only is it great for muscle soreness and getting all of that out, but it is great for detoxifying our bodies, lowering our cortisols. I love to do this, take these baths in the evening right before bed. Multiple reasons for that. One, it's going to detoxify. It's going to help bring down those cortisol levels, but also taking a hot bath before bed helps trigger the melatonin release before sleep. So when our bodies cool down in the evenings and we have that kind of rapid drop from a hot shower or a hot bath, our bodies cool down. That triggers that melatonin release in our body, signaling that it's time for sleep, it's time to go to bed. So Epsom salt baths, you can grab a copy of my favorite de-stress or detox Epsom salt bath recipes off my website in the link below. So check those out, give it a try. Use plain Epsom salt. I will say this, don't buy the stuff that has the scents in it. There's no telling, honestly, what is in those kind of infused Epsom salts. So just use plain old Epsom salt. It doesn't have to be fancy, and it works really, really well. So try that out. Along with the Epsom salt bath, protect your sleep. Stress, so much of my stress was driven by poor sleep. And my poor sleep came from a number of situations, but protecting your sleep is really, really critical to lowering cortisol levels. So if you are not protecting your sleep, I really encourage you to start putting measures in place to protect your sleep. And you can check out my blog post on ways that you can do that and ways that you can see sleep as true self-care. Protecting your sleep is true self-care, and it's going to help lower your cortisol, help lower your stress, along with a whole host of other beneficial things when you really guard your sleep. The final thing that I'll mention is to really watch your caffeine intake. I love coffee. I am a coffee person. I have always been a coffee person for a very long time, ever since I was probably 12. I was introduced to coffee and I love coffee. What I have realized though is that the caffeine really doesn't love me. So watch your caffeine intake. It's really the caffeine intake vice the coffee itself. So a couple of tips. Don't drink coffee or other caffeinated beverages on an empty stomach first thing in the morning. Get some food in you, because what that caffeine does is that caffeine, whether it's from coffee or Diet Coke or an energy beverage, is that's going to drive your adrenaline up, way up, which is going to also cause your cortisol to go way up. So if you are already stressed, if you're already trying to get to work and you're thinking about all of those emails you've got to respond to or meetings that you've got to respond to, or if you're a student and it's exam time and you're worried about your exams and you're drinking that coffee or your energy beverages which in general, I would stay away from the energy beverages. But if you're putting caffeine in your body on an empty stomach, it's really going to drive that adrenaline, which is going to spike your cortisol, which is going to cause your stress to go way up. If you want to continue to have that caffeine in the morning, don't do it on an empty stomach. I would also advise you not to drink caffeine after noon. Caffeine has a half-life of 6 hours. So if you're drinking caffeine, well into the afternoon, it is going to impact your sleep and your ability to get a good night's restful sleep. So I personally would suggest avoiding caffeine after noon. And finally, maybe take steps to reduce your caffeine intake. I recently have started drinking half calf, and I am slowly moving towards third calf coffee, and with intentions eventually to just go fully to decaf, because it's really the coffee flavor that I love, and I'm not needing that caffeine hit anymore. And so it's taken a while to get there, but I have gotten to that place where I don't need that caffeine hit. And so by taking those steps, you can get there too and avoid that adrenaline spike first thing in the morning and avoid those high cortisol levels first thing in the morning. I hope these tips were helpful. I'd love to know if you use any of these, if you have other cortisol lowering tips that are natural, please drop them in the comment. Let's have a conversation and a discussion about this. There are so many things out there. Those were just my favorites. So I'd love to know your thoughts and your feedback on those. So until next time, drop a comment, grab a copy of the Epsom Salt bath recipes and how to protect your sleep from the links below to my blog. And until then, until next week, I really truly believe in my heart that you can heal your stress from the inside out.